Da 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 da. What's going on, guys? Welcome to Victims and Villains. If you guys are new to Victims and Villains, we are a nonprofit and publication that creates content like the one you're watching right now to educate and engage individuals like yourself on mental health awareness and suicide prevention through pop culture. My name is Captain Nostalgia. I have the privilege of being one of the hosts and writers here on staff. And if you guys couldn't tell from our intro, we're talking about the Addams Family 2 on this one. The majority of the cast from the original 2018 animated feature returned, with the exception of Finn Wolfhard. He's actually replaced in this film. We'll talk about it in just a couple minutes. Basically, for the first time ever in all of the Addams cinematic adaptations, the famous Gothic family are hitting the road for a cross-country road trip in lieu of the discovery that apparently their daughter Wednesday might have been switched at birth. I really enjoy the Addams Family. They're probably my favorite sitcom family from the 60s era. I really am such a huge fan of the original 90s movies. And though while I didn't intentionally enjoy the original animated feature in this continuity, my first viewing, my second viewing, I had a lot of fun with it. And if you guys follow me on Letterboxd, you guys know that I talked about finding redemption in a subsequent second viewing. And unfortunately, there's a lot about this movie that doesn't work, and it doesn't work simply because it doesn't feel like an Addams Family movie. What do I mean? Well, let's start off with the fact that the plot of this movie, the sequel, feels like a recycled version of its predecessor. If you look really closely at the original Addams Family animated feature that we got a couple years ago, one of the storylines is about how Wednesday doesn't feel like she belongs anywhere. Like, she's really struggling really heavily with identity issues. And once again, for this film, she's struggling with identity issues. Is she an Addams? Is she not? Quite honestly, it's probably one of the most boring things that this movie has to offer, is the fact that we just saw this same exact plot 2 years ago in a much more interesting way. Second, I talked about how this movie doesn't feel like an Addams Family movie. This movie doesn't feel like an Addams Family movie because it doesn't have that spooky and mysterious vibe that the theme song brags about. It doesn't feel altogether ooky. What do I mean by that? So the majority of the last act of this movie, the trajectory of this film, it feels more in line with the Despicable Me movies than it does the actual Addams Family. It's like someone took the approach to the Hellraiser direct-to-video sequels and were like, we have these scripts lying around, they don't have Pinhead in it, but I'm sure we could shove him in here and turn this into a Hellraiser sequel. It's like that's exactly the thought process they had in mind. Perhaps they were developing a fourth Despicable Me. The idea got rejected, and it ended up being an Addams Family movie. It's really, really sad because the first film, what it does really well is it's very pop culturally relevant. It's very self-conscious and self-aware, and it has a lot of really intelligent things that provide a lot of jokes for the adults in the family, while also staying relevant enough to balance the humor for the kiddies. That doesn't happen here. In fact, I saw this movie in theaters with families, and the one or two laughs that I got out of this movie, I was the only one laughing. Jokes in this movie consistently fall flat. Pugsley just feels like probably the most problematic part of this movie. Javon Walton takes over for voicing Pugsley in this film, and while he might not necessarily have the same notoriety that Wolfhard has, it also just, it's very wooden, it's very deliberate. It's like I said, it's almost like they didn't know what to do with Pugsley in this film. So much of his arc is trying to hook up with chicks and listening to the dating advice of Uncle Fester, who, it should be worth noting, actually has dating experience from the previous film. However, in this movie, we just act like the last film just never happened. There is so much about this movie that frustrates me. But before I turn this video into a podcast talking about all the things that this movie does wrong, let's get to our mental health moment. If you guys are new to our content, mental health moment is where we take a mental health theme or a piece of encouragement from the film we're reviewing and stretch it out a little bit and talk mental health. So much of this movie thrives on Wednesday's quest for purpose. And how important is purpose really in the long term of what we do from day in, day out, and from the entirety of our own lives? Well, I'm glad you asked, because purpose is something that's hugely important for one's mental health. It really dictates how we see ourselves, how we interact with others, and how much love we can really outpour. One of the best lines that I've ever heard in any medium is, how much love can we know how to show if we have no love for ourselves? Self-love is the foundation for purpose and understanding and knowing why you're passionate about something. Take the time to not only have self-love and self-care, but also take the time to find out what your purpose and what your identity is and who you want to be. Because one thing that I can tell you for sure, that no matter, regardless of whatever the answer to those questions are for you watching this right now, depression, suicide, addiction, self-harm, self-loathing, none of those are going to be healthy purposes. None of those are going to be meaningful identities. You can't take identity up in any of those regardless. Because here's the reason why: you have value, you have worth, and the fact that you're watching this right now, and the fact that you're here, and the fact that you even exist makes the world a better place, whether you see it right now or not. So thank you for existing. Thank you for being here with us. If you're going through anything, whether it be depression, whether it be suicidal thoughts, addiction, depression, whatever, I said depression twice, consider the links in the descriptions below. If you guys are watching this on IGTV, it's the link in the bio. Please understand your purpose and your value and your identity, because those are the keys to breaking through and leaving depression behind. And with that, let's get to the rating for this one. Addams Family 2 on our Rorschach rating scale. I'm gonna go ahead and give this a 1 out of 5. This film has a couple of jokes that do land. I really enjoy some of the ideas and the concepts that this movie presents. Addams Family Road Trip is an amazing concept. However, its poor use of Pugsley as a character, its lack of character development, and its recycling of the first film's plot into this one just makes this really a jumbled gothic mess. If you guys have seen the Addams Family 2, what did you guys think? Make sure that you guys like, follow, and subscribe below. If you guys like what we stand for, consider following our other social medias in the link in the descriptions below. And I hope you guys have a spooky day.